Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to talk to you about the relationship between coffee consumption, fat in the liver, and gallstones, stones in the gallbladder. You're going to love this video. Even if you don't have any liver or gallbladder problems, there's a lot of great information you need to know. Stay until the end because you won't want to miss it. If you love tips on nutrition, health, and fitness, you're going to love this channel. So go ahead and subscribe. Remember to turn on the notification bell to get updates. I have new videos every day, and you're going to love them. So let's get started by talking more about the relationship between coffee, the liver, and gallbladder issues, gallstones, and everything related to that. Tell me down below if you have any gallbladder or liver problems. And if you stopped drinking coffee, or if you still drink it, what's your relationship with coffee? Do you think coffee could be harmful to you? Write all of that for me down below in the comments. Or if you have any other questions about this, let me know and I'll make more videos here to help you. Many people who have liver or gallbladder problems are afraid to drink coffee because they think coffee is too strong, that it could somehow harm their liver or gallbladder or affect gallstones or stones in the gallbladder. That's not true. On the contrary, coffee is one of the most studied beverages when it comes to its ability to actually improve liver health. And it can bring many beneficial effects, even hepatoprotective ones. Coffee is very rich in antioxidants, it's rich in chlorogenic acid, and many beneficial effects related to the liver and gallbladder have already been clarified. Studies have already found that regular coffee consumption helps reduce metabolic syndrome. It is neuroprotective, so it's also good for our brain. It is a cardiovascular protector. I have a video here talking about coffee and the heart, circulation. I'll leave it down below in the description for you. It can also be anti-carcinogenic due to the large amount of antioxidants it contains, its anti-inflammatory role, and it's also a good appetite suppressant. If you are in the process of losing weight, it can be an interesting alternative. Of course, you should never replace water with coffee, but for example, in the morning, a cup of coffee without sugar usually calms that hunger that many people feel when they wake up. In addition, it's worth noting that coffee is rich in magnesium and some B-complex vitamins, which makes it a very interesting beverage from a metabolic point of view. Because magnesium and B-complex vitamins are also closely related to carbohydrate metabolism. And it's interesting to talk about this issue of carbohydrate metabolism, because when we think about fatty liver, many people think it's the consumption of fat that will make the liver become fatty. But we already know that the food most closely linked to increased fat in the liver is actually simple carbohydrates, sugar, and everything that turns into sugar when we consume it. So, white flour, white bread, white pasta, all of these will cause an imbalance in the amount of triglycerides in your body if you consume them in very large quantities. Due to the increased secretion of insulin and the accumulation of triglycerides, this buildup of fat that you end up producing from the excess of carbohydrates, of glucose, will accumulate in your liver in or around it, which is exactly what we call fatty liver, hepatic steatosis. That central, visceral, abdominal fat that we already know is also a risk factor for cardiovascular diseases. Some people don't know this, but the liver produces bile and the gallbladder stores the bile. It's like a pouch that stores the bile produced by your liver. The liver is the one that produces bile. And studies have already found that coffee consumption makes bile less thick, less viscous. This is interesting because it helps reduce the formation of crystals. Many people think that gallstones are closely related to the amount of cholesterol in our bodies, but they're also related to a deficiency of bile salts. So, it's very important that we have proper secretion and the right viscosity of bile so that it doesn't stay trapped there for too long, which increases the likelihood of it solidifying and forming those crystals that turn into stones and cause all the problems related to the gallbladder. Gallstones are already very problematic on their own because they cause a lot of pain and often require surgery. But these gallstones can be even more harmful if they move back up. Instead of going down, they move up to the liver and can cause a very serious problem by blocking that duct, which can even lead to the loss of the organ itself. It's a more extreme case, but it's not impossible, and it can happen. So the more you can prevent and avoid the formation of gallstones, the better it is for you. Another interesting detail to consider is that coffee also stimulates the oxidation of various fatty acids, which means it increases the process of lipolysis and the subsequent breakdown of adipose or fat tissue within the body. So, if you have more fat accumulation in your liver, it will stimulate the breakdown of that fat, reducing the amount of visceral fat, abdominal fat, and even hepatic steatosis itself. Another interesting detail is that coffee is hepatoprotective, as I've already mentioned, due to its high amount of antioxidants and its anti-inflammatory properties. And in addition, it also helps regulate a hormone we have that causes the gallbladder to contract and release bile. So, it helps improve the flow of bile, which will be used during the digestive process. It's important to mention that when I say coffee is good for the liver and for the gallbladder, I'm talking about black coffee, filtered, pure, without sugar, without sweetener, without anything. No whipped cream, no heavy cream, no condensed milk, nothing. Nowadays, there are coffees that look more like milkshakes, with so many things added to them, anything but actual coffee. So, remember that to truly and fully get the many beneficial effects of drinking coffee, it is important that it should be a high-quality coffee. So you boil the water and then brew the coffee using a paper filter. We already know that coffee filtered through a paper filter is more beneficial than, for example, coffee made with a French press because it has a lower association with raising cholesterol in our bodies. If you want, I can make a video about this later. Just let me know in the comments below because it's a slightly more in-depth topic, but it's about pure coffee, black, without sugar, without sweetener, without anything. Also remember that coffee brings that sense of a pleasant moment. That moment of sitting down to have a coffee, to wake up in the morning, that moment when you're having your breakfast, or in the afternoon, that moment when you relax and have your coffee to give you that boost in the middle of the afternoon. And often that moment comes along with treats. So there are people who have their morning coffee with bakery pastries, cheese bread, sandwiches, cake. So be careful with what you have alongside your coffee. Some people think that coffee goes really well with sweets because it's bitter, so it balances things out. Be careful with what you consume with your coffee and watch the quantity, because otherwise you end up canceling out such a beneficial food by consuming things that aren't so good at the same time. An interesting detail is that studies have already found that decaffeinated teas and coffees or caffeinated soft drinks do not have the same effect. These beneficial effects are closely related to the consumption of that black coffee I mentioned to you without sugar or sweeteners. After all, coffee isn't just caffeine. It contains chlorogenic acid and hundreds of other very healthy substances, antioxidants, polyphenols. There are really many nutrients present in coffee, so it's the coffee we're talking about, not just the caffeine. Don't be fooled by that. Remember that I have a video here talking about coffee and circulation, and I also have a video on how to sweeten coffee without sugar. Different ways to sweeten coffee without sugar. It's really interesting. And another one talking more extensively about the benefits of coffee. I'll leave all of that down below in the description for you, along with a playlist of coffee recipes to inspire you. Tell me what time you usually have your coffee every day, whether you drink coffee or not, and how many cups you usually have throughout the day. I'd love to see your comment. What do you have with your coffee? Do you add anything? Do you sweeten it or not? Write all of that for me down below. I'd love to see your comment. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like because that really helps me out, and share it with anyone who might like it or needs it. Let's spread this chain of good together. That's what I want here on the channel. See you next time. Bye.